What is up, you guys? It is your boy Keeper Real. I hope you guys are having a great end to your week. If you guys did not hear the unfortunate news that The Last of Us online multiplayer mode or standalone game has officially been scrapped. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit because your boy was hyped. I am a big fan of part 1 and yes, part 2, even though it had a controversial story. I still think that it was a good game at its base, what they brought to the table. Now, the first one is goated. By all means, one of the greatest games of all time. Not only did it provide us with an amazing, just single player story driven experience, but I feel like the multiplayer was just as equally as good, especially if you had a group of friends to play. It was a great just 4v4 just standalone multiplayer game. You could buy Last of Us, and if you didn't want to play the story, I still think that the multiplayer was fun enough to where if you got it on sale back in the day, the multiplayer was justified. Then again, the story was goated, so there's no need to just buy the game for what it is because the game is all that and a bag of chips. So if we look right here, last year or at the beginning of this year, May 2023, we heard a little bit about Naughty Dog delaying the reveal of the game. If you guys remember, at the Game Awards of last year, Neil Druckmann came up to the Summer Games Fest. I apologize, of last year. He said, "Oh, we're going to be showing you guys this game in the following year because we are not ready to show you guys that." So right here on Inverse, it's just showing right here since its initial tease in 2019, Naughty Dog standalone The Last of Us multiplayer game has remained mysterious. Since then, very little has been revealed about the upcoming game, leading to speculation about what the project will end up being. A May 2023 Bloomberg report, along with an update from Naughty Dog itself, indicate that the game itself still may not be ready for a while. Here's what to know about the Naughty Dog's online game. I'm not going to go into it anymore because we know that as of December 14th, that is no longer the case. If we look right here, there was plenty of articles January 4th, 2023 stating that there was an on track for the 2023 reveal. It was supposed to be shown at the PlayStation Showcase, and then later there was speculation about it appearing in the Game Awards, but there was just something they got. Somebody from Destiny came over basically to Naughty Dog and told them that this has to, you guys have to switch this. So they expanded, and if you guys know, The Last of Us Part 2 is actually getting a remaster, and you're going to be seeing a kind of a survival mode where you can be with friends and you guys can play as characters from the story and then you just survive and extract. That I'm pretty sure was part of the multiplayer, but they ended up just scrapping all the individual characters because that's what it was supposed to bring to the table. Online individual stories with multiple characters and multiple pathways, but that might be a little bit too much for Naughty Dog to handle. They need to stick to that single player linear story. God of War, The Last of Us, Spider-Man. Spider-Man I feel like would be a great game to play co-op, but come on, the reality is it's a great game to play single player. The story is there and the mechanics are there. This is the Summer Games Fest where last year where he talks about what exactly is going to happen. At this time, just take a look at it. Just look at what he says, his excitement relating to this online Last of
Yeah,
Us
so
game.
we have a concept art that we want to show. But what I can tell you there
Whoa.
is that this game is big.
Okay.
It's as big
Yeah,
as
and
you
look at
can
that
conceive of
concept
a
art.
game
You
being
guys
big.
just knew it was going to be
It's
the
bigger
entirety
than
of
the
the
story.
world that The Last of
The
Us
way we're telling our
was
stories is
started
very
in.
unique to this
That could
game.
have been a
We
banger,
have a
but
brand new
I don't
concept
think that
art
Naughty
that
Dog
takes
has
place
that
in
capability of
other
making
parts
such
of the
a
United States,
large
such as
scope of a
Microsoft.
multiplayer game. That
I'm
takes
sure our fans have already figured it
years of
out.
experience.
And it's really cool, and it's being headed by Vinith Agarwal, Anthony Newman, and Joe Padnatti, all veterans of Uncharted and Last of Us. And you're going to see a lot more of this game come next year.
Next year. So I wait till next year to hear more about
Next
that
year.
one. Okay. Well, very exciting that this has evolved, and I mean that concept art looks incredible. I can't wait to see Naughty Dog storytelling fused with
Yeah,
multiplayer
see?
in a live game.
It's something special. We can't wait to show it either.
Okay, well, that's not all. We also have something that I've been reading about on the internet every day. It feels like up in Calgary, they're
All
filming.
right, so not only did they say that it was going to be an open world experience, if you guys heard what Neil Druckmann said, is that parts of the game was also going to be set in places like the Middle East and parts of the U.S. Just think about the scope that that game has to be. I feel like it was too ambitious for their own good. And like I said, I was a big fan of the Last of Us series, so I am really butthurt about that. If we take a look right here, Naughty Dog has officially significantly scaled down the team on its Last of Us multiplayer project, sources say, as it reassesses the game. Following Bloomberg's request for a comment, the company put out a Twitter statement today saying that the game was delayed, and that was in May 26th of 2023. So like I said, a Destiny, somebody that worked with Destiny, can't remember the name off the top of my head, worked closely with the multiplayer aspect of the game and told them that this really doesn't need to be a standalone online experience. There's just not enough to justify that, or it's going to be a massive flop. So they had to reflect, take it back, and now they're working on a whole different Naughty Dog game. If you guys heard that Neil Druckmann last time he appeared, they basically were saying that they're working on another Last of Us, another Naughty Dog game, another standalone single player Naughty Dog game. This team got significantly reduced, which is why I'm pretty sure that we're getting that DLC for The Last of Us Part 2. And it sucks that they have to put it out, but man, this must have hit the company hard. Right here, lots of examples in modern game history of single player companies pivoting to multiplayer with unfortunate results. Looks like Naughty Dog won't be one of them. So many single player games just alt to go for multiplayer, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes a game and its heroes and its people inside the game, the characters, the massive world it's built upon, doesn't need to ever touch multiplayer. For example, we have a game coming out made by Rocksteady. I believe they make some of the best games we have ever experienced in my life. Batman Arkham Knight is hands down one of the best games I have ever played, and it still holds up today. Being 7 years old still holds up today. Its graphics, the mechanics, it's one of the best hero games. And I'm sucking it up because it's truly one of the best games I have ever played. To be frank. And now we see with the Suicide Squad. And don't even get me started on Gotham Knights. Lord have mercy, they should have never dropped that. I know it wasn't Rocksteady, but look at what they try to do with that type of game. They try to go all out. Now, Suicide Squad shows us the Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, all those folks fighting the superheroes. Now, everybody's whole thing is, why would you guys add heroes, enemies, villains as the protagonist? And instead of taking a story-driven game that could have been such a banger, you choose for live service BS. Because the game Suicide Squad was supposed to be live service, but they scrapped the live service aspect and delayed the game, which is why we're still waiting on it, and it's going to release next year. The Last of Us doesn't need that. Doesn't even need to release a trailer just so it can get smashed. Naughty Dog posted on their official website right here. We realize many of you have been anticipating news around the project we've been calling The Last of Us Online. There's no easy way to say this. We've made the incredibly difficult decision to stop development on that game. We know this news will be tough for many, especially our dedicated The Last of Us factions community. Lord, if they had just made another factions, I would have been ecstatic. Who have been following our multiplayer ambitions ardently. We're equally crushed at the studio as we are looking forward to putting it in your hands. We wanted to share with you some background of how we came to this decision. The multiplayer team has been in pre-production with this game since we were working on The Last of Us Part 2, crafting an experience we felt was unique and had tremendous potential. As The Last of Us team iterated on their concept of The Last of Us Online, during this time their vision crystallized. The gameplay got more refined and satisfying, and we were enthusiastic about the direction in which we were headed. In ramping up to full production, the massive scope of our ambition became clear. Again, if a game is story-driven, very linear, it's going to be hard for that developer to just completely go the other way and work on an open-world game. Like Rocksteady, yes, people might be skeptical, like me, about the Suicide Squad, but we know Rocksteady can handle an open world game, so it might truly be. It might be one that does it right. To release and support The Last of Us Online, we'd have to put all of our studio resources behind supporting post-launch content for years to come, severely impacting development of future single-player games. So we had two paths in front of us: become a solely live service game studio, or continue to focus on single-player narrative games that have defined Naughty Dog's heritage. Boom. This is what I'm talking about. They are not built for that. They are not him. They are not the multiplayer banger of the year. They don't have the manpower to handle a live service game for years. Yes, they would be able to release a single player game and update it over and over again, but they can't support DLC, active content, battle passes, unless they're milking The Last of Us to the death. And they really can't do that, because then Naughty Dog's just gonna have a nasty stain on the company. And they're PlayStation. You think PlayStation's gonna let that slide? I mean, Last of Us is a pretty heavy hitter. Uncharted is a heavy hitter. They still release trailers for it to this day, like it just came out yesterday. And this is another apology by Naughty Dog on their official Twitter page. And I really can't say anything except these companies need to get with the program. We're not asking for them to be the next multiplayer experience of the year. We're asking for them to just stay true to their fans and release some single player content that is worth dipping our money in. There's no reason to go for an open world online mode when you have such good game and story to build upon. Just keep adding to it. For example, they never had to kill Joel, but they did. Big spoiler, I know, but we all know what happened when The Last of Us Part 2 was around. That happened in the game, and that cut off a lot of traction. But there's still Ellie. You know, so I can't really say that The Last of Us Part 3 can't be a certain thing. But honestly, they don't even need to stay with them two. I get it that they're a big part of 1 and 2. But they don't even need to be part of 3. They could just completely go to two different people at the beginning of the outbreak and follow them, and then at the very end, link them to Ellie. Which is all they had to do with Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. Promise you, there would have been a different reaction if the game started off with you as Abby and her dad being the Joel. It would be completely different. But they didn't. They chose to be a little bit on the edgy side, and look at what we have now. All that being said, guys, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that the online mode for The Last of Us is officially KO'd. There's nothing like that on the horizon for Naughty Dog, so don't get your hopes up. Let it sizzle down. Let's see what else we can get from Naughty Dog, because we know they can provide some great single-player experiences. Remember, leave a like and subscribe, and have a wonderful weekend.